Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Happy, Healthy Human Podcast. It's your host, Eric Freedom. And we on this podcast, we discuss the 5 factors of health: nutrition, rest and recovery, movement or training, mindset, and connection. Today, I have an awesome guest with us here today. I think, Beth, what is this, like your 3rd, 4th podcast?
If you count the ones that we published.
Yeah.
4.
Okay. So one topic we want to talk about today is rest and recovery, and the topic of sleep came up. I'll let you kind of tell the story, but for those guys that don't know, Beth is one of our resident physiotherapists here at Reason. Was a coach, now is graduated, and now is practicing as a physiotherapist. And the topic of sleep came up this week, and we're here to talk about it.
Yeah. So I've been delving into it more because I have a health coach with Wild Health, which is the doctor, like the functional fitness forward doctor that I signed up with last year. And one of the things that they've been helping me with is my sleep. Because historically, I've been a pretty poor sleeper. When I say poor, I mean quality. Like, I get a good amount of hours in that helps make up for it. But in terms of like falling asleep and staying asleep throughout the night, I'm pretty bad. I'm pretty abysmal, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was talking to my health coach, and he sent me some notes on some just general sleep tips.
Yeah.
And just a bunch of stuff about like sleep drive, circadian rhythm, hormones, sleep disruption, that stuff. But one of the topics that was included in that note was sleep chronotypes, which I had never heard of before. Okay. But you have, clearly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So basically, he said it's kind of like your sleep chronotype is kind of like a personality type. So it's like a personality test or like a quiz that you take. So he's like, okay, you can take this quiz. It's called the Power of When quiz, and it will tell you what sleep chronotype you are. And there's 4 chronotypes, and they're all based on animals. Do you want me to go through them, or?
Yeah, I mean, you could. So for those that don't know, like we have like an internal Slack channel that we talk a lot on, and literally like maybe about a week ago, not even a week. This is like what, Tuesday?
That was like a couple days ago.
Was it a couple days ago? Dude, time flies. I feel like it's been a week since, but maybe a couple of days ago you mentioned you basically posted, I think, on our random channel, hey, like, has anybody done this? And I was the only one that responded, yes, what are you? And I'm a dolphin, and I found out that you're a dolphin. But there's 4 different animals, and I think the most popular one is done by. So I heard about it through either Andrew Huberman or Dr. Peter Attia. They're like he's the longevity guy, he's the neuro guy, and then they're the ones that actually talked about Dr. Bruce. So Dr. Bruce is, and that's the link that you sent with the sleep doc. So he's the sleep doctor.
Yeah.
I also heard about it when I read a book called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. So those are some good resources if you guys are trying to learn about sleep. But let's kind of break down what sleep chronotypes are. What are sleep chronotypes?
It's basically the way that you sleep, or the animal that you are kind of characterized as with your sleep patterns.
Yeah.
Sleep really well, like a bear.
Yeah.
Sleep very lightly.
Yeah.
Like a dolphin.
So from what I've gathered so far, it says that sleep chronotypes are largely decided by a strong genetic component, and it's tied to there's a longer, I don't even know how to say it, I can't even pronounce the word, but allele on the allele on the per3 circadian clock gene that's been tied to morningness. So basically genetics.
Yeah.
It's basically genetics. And there's a questionnaire that you can take, that I took and you took. And the 4 different types of chronotypes are, number 1 is the lion, the bear, the wolf, and then lastly is the dolphin, which is, I think, is the rarest type, right? So before we kind of dive into the ones that we are, why don't I share a little bit about the lion? So the lion is a chronotype that stands for the early bird. And this is an individual that wakes up early and are most productive in the morning, but may have trouble following a social schedule in the evening. Personality traits associated with morningness include conscientiousness and agreeableness. And they prefer to wake up early. They're very diligent and most productive in the morning, and their typical schedule is a 6 a.m. wake up and they're most productive between 9 and 2, and they typically go to bed by 10. And about 15% of these people on Earth are lion types. Do you know any lion types?
I was just gonna ask, do you think Luke is a lion?
I think I think he's developed into a lion type, right? I don't know that he naturally was a lion type, but I mean, I don't know.
There's a couple of people that my friends in college that I would peg as a lion. She was
I 100% thought I was going to be a lion.
Early morning.
Yeah.
Need to go to bed early.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharp in the morning.
Yeah.
You think better in the morning.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like generally that's most people also, but maybe it's just a little bit more pronounced.
Yeah. So the second type is a bear, and I think we know a lot of bears.
Yep.
But according to this chronotype, it's about 55% of the population, and people with this chronotype tend to follow the sun, which is very normal, right? They do with traditional office hours, but also have no problem maintaining a social life in the evenings. Bears are naturally social and tend to wake up around sunrise and then go to sleep around sunset, right? So you can think of a lion as someone that gets up before sunrise. They typically wake up around 7 a.m., and then they're most productive about an hour or two block later from 10 to 2. And then their bedtime is 11 or later. So I feel like that sounds like most people that I know.
Do you know what Diana is?
I think she lives her life like a lion, but I think if we didn't have children, I think she would be a bear.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah. Tim is a bear for sure.
Yeah.
One thing that makes him stand out as a bear is like if there's light in the morning, he can't sleep in like 100%. Like he has to, like we use blackout curtains, and that helps a lot. If he wants to sleep in.
Yeah. The next one is called the wolf, and the wolf chronotype is the equivalent to the classic night owl. I think that would be Ismail here, but
I was gonna say ish, yeah.
But, did you test as a?
Bear.
You got
bear. Oh,
yeah, I would have guessed that was you. So the that chronotype is believed to make up approximately about 15% of the population. So it is more rare, and traits typically related to eveningness include neuroticism and openness. Wolves are creative thinkers. They are most productive in the afternoon and go to bed late. They typically wake up 7:30 a.m. or later. They're most productive 1 to 5, and then they go to bedtime around midnight. And then I don't know if you can think of people like that, but I think of like Ish. I would think is one, which is weird because he tested as a bear. I knew like some really successful wedding photographers when I was in my 20s, and every single one of these guys all worked like 12-hour workdays, and then during the week they would edit as soon as like it started getting dark. And their words were they could see lighting better at night. I don't know what that means because that doesn't resonate with me, but he could see things better at night. So he would usually start editing like between 7 and 10 p.m. And then he like 7 to 10 p.m. and then he'd probably go to bed around 3 every day.
That makes sense though, because like creative, right? My sister Hannah, I think fits
She like that?
I think she fits that. Yeah. She like, you'll see her, she's journaling, she's drawing at like 10, 11 at night. And then she'll go to sleep at like, 12 or like 11 on like a weekday probably. But she is very active in the evening, and then she loves sleeping in. She doesn't like waking up.
So she feels very present and awake at night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's wild.
She goes out and does a lot of stuff at night too. She's very like social at that time.
Like she would go out like at 9 p.m. and think it's not weird.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Super down for that.
Wow.
I think.
Wow. Oh,
I know it's so opposite from some of us.
And then the last one is the dolphin chronotype. And it's based on the ability of real dolphins to stay alert even while sleeping. That's terrifying.
Oh, that's what it
That's
is.
so unnatural and not healthy.
Oh. I was trying to figure out why they use the animal, as a dolphin for that.
So human dolphins are best described as insomniacs. 10% of people are dolphin chronotypes. Dolphins are sensitive sleepers, that's what's weird is I don't think I'm a sensitive sleeper, but I sleep like a bear. But dolphins are sensitive sleepers with fragmented sleep patterns, and that is me, and rarely keep a regular sleep schedule, which is also me. Typical wake up typical dolphin schedule is they wake up at 6. They're most productive from 3 to 7, and they go to bed around 11. What do you think?
I would say
sounds
my
like
production
me.
is in the morning.
Yeah, me too, right? So
I don't know, but I would definitely. I resonate with the light sleeping and the waking up a lot at nighttime.
Yeah.
And then waking up at 6. Going to sleep late too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Ruminators?
Oh, it also says
ruminators?
some dolphins have a strong productivity window between 10 and 2, which that resonates with me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we're typically sensitive to light and noise when they sleep and are prone to fragmented sleep patterns.
Yeah, noise messes me up.
Yeah.
Noise really messes me up.
Yeah. So, I mean, like taking that test for you, like what did that validate, and like what have you done with it since?
Yes. So it validated the times that I've been feeling good about going to sleep and getting up. For me, I mean, especially being at Reason, I know it's always like, hey, if you can get 7 hours of sleep, that's ideal. Which you can make happen within a 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. like sleep time frame. But I always thought, guess growing up, like going to sleep at 10, going to sleep at 9:30, that's automatically better than if
I was taught that growing up too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's just like early to bed, early to rise.
Yeah,
Makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Oh, dang. That's from your dad?
That's Benjamin Franklin.
Oh.
But I mean, yeah, my dad said that, I guess.
Benjamin Franklin, okay.
Yeah, Benjamin Franklin.
I always heard like early bird catches the worm or whatever.
That too, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's a more common one. But I just, even through college, like when I went to Biola, I would like hit the stack exactly at like 9:45.
Every day.
My first semester, yeah.
So, okay, let's do this. Let's break down kind of your sleep patterns from as far back as you can remember to today.
Okay, so as a kid,
yeah,
like my parents had us go to sleep early. So we were in bed at like 8, 7, something.
Up until what age?
Maybe middle school. And
that's what, 8 o'clock?
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid lying in bed and it was bright, like outside my window, and I was just like, how am I supposed to sleep right now? It was like super bright, and I would just, my sister and I, we would make up these little like codes to talk to each other. We would just like knock on
That's funny.
On the wall, and we would just, it was like a Morse code almost.
Yeah.
But it was like, what's up? Are you awake? Yes, I'm awake.
Dang.
And it would just be knocking, and my parents would come in and be like, go to sleep.
Stop knocking. I'm going to spank you. I'm going to spank you.
Like, why are you knocking on the wall? So, yeah, it was hard. It was hard for me to sleep as a kid. I remember that.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is like K through 12 years old-ish?
Yeah, I would say
and then you start staying up later.
Yeah, like Friends, high school, like instant messaging got big.
Instant messaging.
Zanga,
dude.
I don't know if you had a
I had a Zanga. Yes. I care to never look at it, but yeah.
Blogging got big.
Yeah.
And so when that happened and everyone was on later, then I was staying up later and going to sleep later.
Like what, like 10?
Yeah, I would say like 10.
Okay, so still like not super late.
Not super late, yeah. Then high school was when it hit probably the latest I've ever gone to sleep in my life. And gaming. Like I got into gaming, playing MapleStory, Gunbound.
This is in middle school or high school?
This is middle school, high school, like transition, I guess. So like 9th grade. Yeah, high school.
Yeah. And then what were your bedtimes then?
Okay, I would play MapleStory until like 4 a.m.
No way. During the week?
Yeah. I think so. I'm pretty sure. And my sister, because we shared a room, like Hannah would be in bed trying to sleep, and I would be on my laptop, my gaming laptop, clicking and like
at 4 a.m.
making noise, like clicking on the keyboard at like 4:30 a.m. And she would be like,
Wait,
"What is she doing?"
What time would you go to? When did you go to school? Like 7?
Yeah, like 7.
So you just didn't sleep?
Just slept for like a couple hours.
Dang. Wow.
Maybe that was a weekend, but in general, I remember going to sleep really late in high school, like midnight or later than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did that too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you did that too.
Yeah, like we were like, you just like AIM with friends.
Yeah.
Like
AIM.
you like until you're falling asleep.
Yep.
Terrible.
Yeah. Do you remember the sign-in sound? AIM?
No.
Do it you want, do it you want, do it you want. Do you remember that? Okay, never mind.
For AIM?
Yeah, it was like it would make this like weird like sign-in sound, and then it would like repeat until you were
Really?
actually signed in. Oh gosh, maybe it's just me. I don't know. I bet you could find it on YouTube somewhere.
I'm gonna find it right now. That I remember.
Okay, that's the
That I
signing in.
remember.
Yeah.
That I remember.
The door opening.
Closing.
Oh my gosh. Or the door closing.
Cash register. Door open. Door closing. Oh, that's when
Oh
someone
my
hit
gosh.
you back.
Yep, the
Someone hit you
sending
back.
message sound.
Oh, why do I remember the cow? Email. Wow. Dude, that's crazy. Crazy.
Anyways.
We just listened to a bunch of sounds from AIM, but I digress. Wow. Okay. So, and then were your 20s pretty consistent? Like,
Oh, you mean like going to college?
no, like were your sleep patterns pretty? Because then by then you said you're going back. You started going to sleep at 9.
Yeah, like 9:30, 10 for my first semester of college. And then I think it was just because I didn't know anyone yet and I wanted to be regimented. And then after I started getting used to college and less homesick and more social, then I started going to sleep later and later again. So I would
I
start
see.
going to bed at like 11, 12.
I see.
But I did earn a reputation with my friends that, oh, she goes to bed early. Like she's an early bird. She wakes up early.
Because in college, pretty much everyone goes to sleep like when they can't open their eyes anymore.
Yeah, exactly. People are like pulling all-nighters even,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
staying up until 2
Wow.
to study.
Okay.
That wasn't me. That was definitely not me.
Wow. So, okay, and then you have like young adult life to now. Like, what does that kind of look like? And what have you like intentionally experimented with anything, or like what have you done?
Yeah, for work, I think it was mostly always dependent on my work schedule. So whatever I needed to wake up for, I would make enough hours to sleep for that. So tech companies, the ones that I worked at, we often have to work with like the rest of the world and the East Coast. And the East Coast is like, 4 hours ahead of us. So I would go in at 7.
Yeah.
So I would have to wake up at like 6.
Yeah.
And I thought I needed 9 hours of sleep. So I would go to sleep at 9, or like at least try to like get ready for bed at 9.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty consistent schedule all the way across after getting a job at a tech company until going to PT school. Yeah. PT school was like, I need to wake up or I need to study. So sometimes I would go to sleep later, but I think like even then there was a thing in my mind that was like telling me I needed at least 9 hours of sleep to function. And so I always was like, whatever time I need to wake up, I need to go to bed to get that 9 hours. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like I actually I can't remember a time in my life that I slept really well, but it could just because it's very hard to remember life before kids now. But I when I look at my life, I think like even as a young kid, I feel like I was a very anxious kid.
Yeah.
Just the way I grew up, the way my family structure was, I was always very anxious. It was very hard for me. I'd always have like bad nightmares.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I never had like great dreams. And then I was always anxious, so I wouldn't sleep very well. I'd always wake up multiple times in the middle of the night.
Yep.
And then I feel like once I went to it wasn't really until I went to college, and even in college I didn't sleep well. I was trying to like find my place in school. I'm trying to see who my friends are. That's after I transferred. When I went to junior college, I was still living at home, and even then I've always had the mentality of like, who needs to sleep when you can work? So I've always just worked a lot. And then it wasn't until I started training, like when I wanted to compete in CrossFit, that I was like, I need to sleep a lot.
I need
Or
recovery.
else I'm not going to be healthy, or I'm not going to be able to like train as much. And honestly, I think it wasn't until I started CrossFit in 2009 that I finally did something that like made me work hard enough that I was like, dude, I really need to rest. Because I think before that, it's like all my training was very more bodybuilding, functional training stuff, but I never pushed it to the point where I wasn't training. I was exercising. And I feel like when you're exercising, it's like you need rest, but it's different from when you're training for something.
Right.
Right. And that's when I really learned how to like sleep a little more. And then life happens. And I would say that I probably haven't slept very well for over 7 to 8 years. And even before that, like you have like the stresses of like running a business and whatnot. Right. And I just haven't been a really well-rested person for a long, long time. If I was to grade myself, I'd probably give myself like 10 being like, dude, you're really, really well rested and you have great protocols and you're self-aware about your sleep and your recovery. I'd probably give myself like a 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Nah, 6.5.
That's actually nice.
6.5.
I was thinking I would give myself a 6.
Dang, you give yourself a 6?
Yeah.
Out of 10.
I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty good. Yeah.
So what would be things that you would do to get yourself closer to a 10?
I'm doing them right now, or at least trying to. So,
Okay.
I mean, I guess going back to the previous question about like being validated and, not having to get that 9 hours of sleep, like reading about dolphins and how going to sleep at 11 and waking up at 6 is like it's an ideal time. And that's like the bare minimum of sleep that you need, which is 7 hours.
Yeah.
And to me, whereas I've always operated on this principle that I need to get 9 hours of sleep to function, realizing that I'm not in the majority of people. Like as a dolphin, that's like the very small minority. And looking at the past in my like history of sleep, I have done some pretty crazy things on like 6 hours of sleep or 7 hours of sleep and felt actually great.
Yeah.
Like I ran a Spartan race, went to sleep at, I think 12, woke up at 6 and felt like super rested for that. And then like thinking back at all those times that I've gotten around 7 hours of sleep, going to sleep at that 11 to 6 range and realizing I felt pretty good at those times and accepting that I don't need necessarily 9 hours of sleep as a dolphin. So I think part of that is just being okay with that and like retraining my, mental understanding of what good sleep is. The other thing is that my sleep coach or my health coach has been really getting me to try to work in a consistent routine. So consistency with the time that I go to bed and the stuff that I do before I go to bed.
What's that like right now?
Right now, so this week I'm actually working on starting to wind down at 8:30, and then.
What is winding down?
Wind down is like don't do anything that like gets your heart rate up, that kind of increases that parasympathetic nervous system.
So no gaming.
No gaming. No gaming.
Which is counter to what you're doing.
Which is sometimes we'll game in the afternoon and it's fine.
I see.
But yeah, a lot of people are on at night and that's when I have to be like, I have to go to sleep. But yeah, starting to like read or do something that's calming at 8:30. So I'll do like Duolingo on my phone at 8:30, which is pretty calm activity.
Duolingo's calming for you?
Yeah. It's
Bro,
not,
I'm out here yelling words when I'm doing Duolingo.
But you're not being timed. You got like time to answer it, unless you do the lightning rounds, which are stressful.
It's
but
like
I don't
not,
do this.
It's not calming for me though, because it's like I'll like say it and then like I'll get it wrong and I'm like and I'll like need a maybe it's just me. It's because I'm gamifying though.
Okay, maybe you're
I'm
gamifying.
gamifying, yeah.
But I mean, for me, like I'm taking Japanese right now, and they're not having me say anything, so I don't have to speak. I can just click the answer.
I see.
Or listen and choose the answer. So maybe I'll get more stressed and I can't do that anymore.
Yeah,
but it's all about finding an activity that's calming for you.
Yeah.
Like an activity that's like calming for you can be stressful for someone else. So I would put it like that. The other thing is playing guitar, listening to music, stretching. My more calming stuff I do closer to when I go to bed. So like 8:30 is reading, and then 9 o'clock would be stretching and like rolling out, like mobilizing, and then drinking tea or like I drink like this magnesium mix.
Thursday?
No.
Oh, what do you drink?
What's it called?
I drink Thursday when I remember
I've never heard of
to. It's like a magnesium glycinate, zinc. One other thing, but it's like strawberry lemonade flavor. I froth it.
Nice. Yeah, I froth my magnesium too. Yeah.
It's collagen protein based too.
Oh, nice.
It doesn't taste great.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask this to taste good,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do like a frothing with my magnesium
Okay.
and like tea. There's
Cool.
like chamomile tea with
Yeah.
like lemongrass or something
Yeah,
in it.
yeah.
It's like calming.
That's calming, yeah.
But yeah, magnesium has helped me a lot. Yeah,
Cool.
I'll say that.
Do you notice a difference in quality of your sleep, or does it just help you sleep longer or stay asleep, or what does it do for you?
I think it helps me stay asleep.
Helps you stay asleep.
Yeah. I think the calming effect in it, or like the relaxation effect, helps my body to stay below that parasympathetic tone. Yeah. Because if I'm stressed, I'll notice that I wake up more often at nighttime.
I see.
Yeah. But yeah, getting a routine in, and I'm still figuring it out. Like I'm still like updating my health coach with all my habits and everything, and keeping like a journal on what I do before I go to sleep.
Yeah. Do you wear any trackers or anything?
Yeah, I've been using my Fitbit actually recently. Yeah, I got a new Fitbit. It has Fitbit Premium, so it'll track like my sleep stuff. One thing that I learned from my health coach recently about sleep that I haven't actually prioritized is not the number of hours, but the quality. So like how much REM, how much deep sleep versus how much light sleep. And I didn't realize that ideally having 90 minutes or more of REM and deep sleep is better than having more hours of sleep. The only reason is that having more hours of sleep is good is it gives you an opportunity to get more.
To have more REM.
To get more REM.
More cycles.
Yeah, more cycles, exactly.
Yeah.
But we took a look at my data, and he was like, hey, some of these days you're getting like an hour of deep sleep. That's okay, but it's not a lot. And I was like, oh, but I got 9 hours of sleep. He was like, we want to get the deep sleep and the REM. And I was like, oh, that's huge. So I started like stressing less about trying to like get my 9 hours, and then thinking like, oh, if I get my 6 hours and get really good like 2 hours of REM, really good 2 hours of deep, then I don't need to stress. Like I got my quality.
Yeah.
It's not quantity, it's quantity. Quality.
Yeah. How much of like you feel like being able to deep sleep, do you feel like is connected to having a mind that is like has a baseline of peace, if that makes sense? Like I realized for me, for a long time, I didn't sleep very well. I probably sleep better than I have in a long time, even as a parent. And it's because of like protocols. It's because of like awareness, consciousness over like information, like chronotypes, stuff like that. I just bought the chili pod, right? Not sponsored. Paid lots of money for it, and hopefully it works. I got 30 days to figure out whether it works for me. But like I'm reducing like I did it honestly. Okay, I'm gonna throw it out there. I didn't buy it because I wanted to like hack my sleep, because I would have done that years ago with the A-Pod, and I just couldn't get myself to spend $4,000 on the A-Pod. But I got an electricity bill that was $900 because I had to turn my AC down. I can't sleep when it's hot. So I turned my AC down to like 70 when I go to bed. Yeah. And I had a $900 electricity bill, and I was like, that ain't it. Like, I am not going to pay $1,000 electricity bill at my house forever. So I'm gonna make my bed cooler so that I don't have to turn the air down as low. So, or I gotta like sleep right next to the vent or something, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying that, and just like I sleep on like last few nights a 65-degree bed. Yeah, and it's cool. It's so cool that I actually think that I might not be sleeping optimally, but I always feel like you know that feeling when you jump into bed and you can feel like someone's already slept in it because it feels kind of warm. I think that's a nasty feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like jumping in and it's like cold, and then I like that my body warms it. So I think the tricky thing right now is like I had it on AI mode the first night, and it was just weird. Like I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw that it was 77, and then at night like 3 a.m. it turned off. So I think it trains itself. So last night I tried just keeping it at 65 all night. And I also woke up multiple times because I think I was too cold. So finding like it reminds me of like the little girl that walks into the bear's house and tries the porch. It's like
Goldilocks.
Like Goldilocks, yeah. It's like not too cold, not too hot, just right.
Yeah.
Just right. And I think I'm trying to figure out what's just right. And I'm like super aware too that this is like a very first world hack.
Yeah.
Right? It's like I spent
who else in the world is
I spent $2,000 on this thing where it's like there's people that don't even have freaking beds. Like, so like I'm super aware of it, but I'm also like, man, like it's interesting that I feel like to skip a lot of this. I'm like, man, if a lot of us sleep better if we just like carried a sense of peace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of times we can't sleep because we don't have peace in our lives.
Yes.
I feel like, you know?
And it's not just like a piece about how you feel in that moment. It's more like an overarching, like going through your week, going through your day, you generally have a lower baseline, like nervous system. You're kind of relax. You're not, you know, fight or flight is that.
I'm kind of, I'm like envious of people that kind of like naturally have that tone.
Oh my gosh, Tim has that. It's
I know he does. I know he does.
He'll like fall asleep. He'll like lie down on the pillow and just be out immediately. And I'll just be like there with my eyes like wide open. Like how did he go to sleep so quickly? But he has a peace about things, and he, he's just super calm, super chill. Yeah. So I think it's rubbed off a little bit, but I've also had to find ways to dial into that piece on my own. Yeah. One of the things that I picked up was a meditation app. It's called Glorify. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Never heard of it.
It's a Christian
I know Calm.
app. Yeah, it's like Calm. Okay. But it's based on like Bible verses and like devotional sort of thing.
Does it time you too or no?
No, it doesn't time you. But they'll do like a devotion. They'll read the passage to you, and then they'll do a quick devotional, and then they'll have like a virtual walk, like nature walk.
Oh, interesting.
And then they'll talk. They'll be like, breathe in, breathe out, and calm. So I've been doing that while I stretch before I go to bed.
I see. So, cool.
I think that helps instill that peace a little bit.
Yeah, I'm thinking through like what, because like if I give myself a 6.5 right now, which I'm shocked that is high. I'm shocked that I grade myself higher than you do. I'm wondering if it's because you're more like professionistic, but I feel guilty giving myself a 7. I'm like, is mine worse than yours?
No, you can give yourself a 7.
You know?
The only reason I would say I'd give myself a 6 is that I'm not really putting in the work to get good sleep. Like I'm like halfway in, halfway out. My health coach will tell you like I haven't been good about being consistent about my bedtimes and my routines. Last night, for example, Tim and I did some gaming with my brother and my cousin. We played until maybe 10:30. Yeah. And that completely scrapped my routine. Like it just went down the drain.
I'm gonna show you a reel real quick in the middle of this podcast. But Mario sent this to me earlier, so check this out.
Disciplines of rest. Rest should not be a response to fatigue. Rest should be a response to accomplishment. Wow. It's a discipline. It's not, I'm going to just rest because I'm tired. Yeah. It's, I'm going to rest because I've accomplished something. Yeah. And rest is not in the way of my productivity. It's going to make me more productive. Because when I'm tapped in, I can do more in 3 hours than I can in 3 days when I'm tapped out. Yeah.
And this is by Darius Daniels. And so he sent that to me, and I was like thinking about it. Like I realized for me, being in the spaces that I've been in for like a decade and being who I am, I actually, most of my rest has come from a place of exhaustion. Like, so that the only times I really sleep like a lot, or like this 2024 so far, I've probably had 2 days where I was like, okay, like I drop off my kids at school, I come back and my body literally feels like I'm about to crash. And it's like Drew likes to make fun of me. He's like, dude, you're always sick. And I'm like, dude, I'm not sick. I'm literally just exhausted. And those days I like take that day really slow. Like I literally will go back and take a nap for like 2 hours. And then I'll like get back and I'll like do whatever meetings I have. I'll take another nap. And then at the end of that day, I can still sleep like a full 6 to 8 hours at the end of the night. And I think it's like being my personality, I don't know how to rest until I'm absolutely forced to. It's kind of like the mindset of like, I don't know how to stop working. It's just gonna laugh. I don't know how to stop working until I like physiologically can't, right? Whereas like I wish I had better boundaries. Where it's like what he's saying is like, hey, like, so like when we hit a year ago, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary, right? So starting year 11 this year, we just finished year 11. We're going year 12, right? When we celebrated our 10-year anniversary, last year was interesting because we had the 10-year anniversary, and I also had the release of my book. And I've shared this with a few people. The day after, like the week and following month of the release of the book, 20 March to April, was one of like the most depressing months of my life. And then in August, we had the 10-year party. And then in September, it was like, I remember because it was the month of, I think, Diana's birthday. And I was like just feeling super low. And it's because my personality, I didn't have peace. I felt like, oh, like, is this it? Like, you know, and it's like, you know, it's like that, the ebbs and flows of life. It's like I hit this high. It's like, oh, accomplishment. And then instead of taking rest, I go
which you deserved for your accomplishment.
Then in my mind, I don't think I do. I go and seek more accomplishment, right? And I just go and try to do more. Oh, like it's like hitting let's just say, because I had this goal of hitting a 225-pound snatch or breaking 200 for a long time, back in like 2015. I finally hit it, and instead of going like, oh, dude, like sick, I hit it. I drop a quick Instagram post, forget that it even happened. And I'm already chasing 225 the week after. And there's no like, there was no like deload or like a block of just like, dude, you just hit like a lifetime PR that you've wanted for years since you started training CrossFit. You know, there's like 6 years, 2009 to 2015. There's no celebration of it. It's like, the celebration is an Instagram post. Cool, feel it, over, get to work.
That was a good reel for you then.
Yeah, that was a great reel for me. That was a great reel for me, you know? So for me, I feel what I'm learning about myself is like sleep and rest is tied to like the mindset around rest and whether or not I have peace in my life. When I have peace in my life, I'm able to sleep really, really well. But I'm also able to sleep really, really well when I've worked really, really hard to the point of exhaustion, where it's like my body just tells me, dude, you got to sleep. And I don't know that those are like healthy rhythms, and that's why I give myself a 6.5. I'm trying to work towards that. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. And it's interesting because what does peace actually look like in real life? Like gaming yesterday until, you know, we played from like maybe 8:30 to 10:30. That's a long time. Yeah. By the time I was done, I was tired. I was like, I'm ready to go to sleep. But now we've been like playing this like first person shooter. Am I ready to go to sleep? Is my sympathetic nervous system totally ramped up? Am I at peace? Yeah. Am I at peace? I wash up. I lie down in bed. Tim's there, like talk a little bit, snuggle a little bit. And I'm out. And I wake up this morning. This is like 7 hours of sleep, 11 to like 6 o'clock. And I look at my Fitbit data. It's like almost 2 hours of REM.
What?
And almost like over 90 minutes of deep sleep. And I was like,
from gaming.
Maybe I was at peace. And I think I had a good day. Like the day that I had before that, leading up to like all the gaming was like really productive. I did a lot. I spent some time outside working out. I worked out outside, like literally under the sun, because I was so happy to be like outside again without like burning and like, and like smelling smoke and stuff. And I was like in a really good place that day. And I think that sort of peace is like the peace that I would look for. Not necessarily like, you know, did I stretch and do my like sleep routine and like wind down? Not really. But I was at peace the entire day, and that was like my baseline already. So
cool.
Yeah, interesting.
Well, we're gonna wrap it up right here. Any last thoughts on sleep or sleep chronotypes?
I would say like no matter what animal you are, there's ways to work around that sleep. Like when I found out I was a dolphin, I was like, am I automatically screwed for life? But
yeah, that's kind of like, it's kind of a damning chronotype to like give somebody, I feel like.
Yeah, but then I looked at all the resources that they have for dolphins and how to maximize on that particular sleep pattern. And they have a lot of stuff. And they're like, here's how you can still sleep as a dolphin. And there's hope for that. Yeah. So.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining me. Unexpected Triple H podcast on sleep. But any questions, feel free to reach out. Like, subscribe, and it's so stereotypical to say that. I hate saying that, But if you enjoyed it, give us a like. The best thing that you can do to help us is, this is an ad-free podcast. Please share it with a friend. Any tips that you find helpful, and also don't just share it. Like, think through these concepts that we talked about, and honestly, like, examine your own life. That's why we do these podcasts. Is we want to challenge you to examine your own happiness, your health, and how does it impact you? Discuss it with your friends. That's how you grow in consciousness and improve, not just your life, but that's the way to build a happier, healthier life. So if you enjoyed this, share it with a friend. Shoot us a message on Instagram at Happy Healthy Human Podcast on Instagram. And we love getting topics. We love answering your questions. And thanks for tuning in. Have a good one.